Oi, oi, oi. Olá. Olá, boa noite. Sejam bem.
Good evening. We would like to welcome everyone to this meeting. This is an event that happens in a hybrid way, online and presential. We would like to make sure that presentially everyone is respecting the biosecurity measures for COVID-19. Latin America is one of the regions with the biggest levels of women's entrepreneurship, with a 17.3% of women entrepreneurs. In spite of women being engaged in this area in the world of work, some of the business women are still facing dangerous obstacles and significant changes, and they have these obstacles in terms of financial aspects in Latin America. In some of the sectors, which are mainly considered to be, they are welcome to the female sectors, and they have difficulties when they want to engage in other markets. In the past 2 years, the pandemic COVID-19 exacerbated the inequalities in gender and had a very big negative impact for small and average business people who had difficulties to face challenges in order to continue with their operations and also to face inequality and diversity in income, which happens in some regions. Lately, in the past years, we've been listening as women entrepreneurs, as you who have this ability and you have a business as a woman, you have already heard someone ask, do you have a man partner? Is your man your husband or your grandpa or your brother with a man involved? It sounds like a woman would need male figure in order to have a business. It's not like this. To support women entrepreneurs is important, and as much as to promote gender equality, as much as to reach the development objectives in a more amplified way. Estimates show that inclusion of women in the workforce has a very direct impact in reducing poverty. Research recently made in Latin America and Caribbean has shown a reduction where you have women leading businesses. We have a reduction of 30% in extreme poverty. These are data from the World Bank in 2012. In answer to many challenges that have been faced by women, even those challenges, those jargons that people say that you need a man support in order to start. According to the specialists, the success of entrepreneurship, 10% is inspiration, and the remaining 90% is transpiration. Bottom line, hard work, and we women are able to align work and our personal life. And to support these women, always in answer to the challenges that they are facing, especially for those women who are entrepreneurs, and those possibilities that allow to have success, many different agencies of the UN have gathered to promote development of entrepreneurship for women. The Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator is an initiative of multiple partners as it's been set in September 2019 during the 74 General Assembly UN and the Mary Kay Company to empower 5 million women up until 2030. The final objective of this initiative is to maximize the impact of the women development in entrepreneurship in sustainable objectives, creating a sustainable environment for women in businesses over the world. Nowadays, the Senai, which is an organization for work in Brazil, and the International Labor Organization, they are bringing together this event, which has the title They Are Entrepreneurs, which has an objective to reach results in projects such as Win-Win, which is to bring equality in gender in businesses, which has the funds from uh, ILO, from UN, and other women all over the world. And I want to welcome all women who are entrepreneurs and business people, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is not only a female fight, but it's also a male fight. We have the participation of business women, governor representatives, employers, and other private sector people, and who are in charge of the organizing and facing challenges and approaches to support women in entrepreneurship in the world. And we have a call to action to support women who are entrepreneurs and business women. Together, we're able to accomplish a lot more. So let me start by welcoming in this very special night and an unforgettable night. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a division in time for women, especially for women who want to start a business, who needs just a beginning push, and you haven't got the proper motivation to get started. So I want to welcome the managers, the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator, Mel Gazelle, who's with us online. I would also like to welcome the president of the National Confederation of Industry and Vice President for the International Organization, Mr. Alexander Furlam, who's also with us online. And I also have the pleasure to announce that Fatec Senai General Director is also with us, Miss Lilia Broom, who's here presentially. Let me move away from the screen so that I can see everyone here on the screen. We also have here and online the Mary Kay Global Director, Miss Deborah Gibbons. And also online, we have these 4 guests. We're going to call one more. The Director for Latin America Organization for Miss Claudia Cunetz, as she's online as well. She's from the International Organization of Labor. So we welcome all of you. It's great to have you all with us tonight. Well, our plan for tonight, we're going to have 2 round tables, and they are going to be going on in this space, which we are in this environment. After that, we're going to have available in the same platform another environment with 5 rooms for meetings. So you can pick the one that you would like to be part of. If there's one more you're interested in, it's no problem. They're going to be recorded, so you're going to have access later, as it's going to be available on YouTube at Fatec's account. So now I'm going to announce the 5 rooms that are available. In a minute, I'll be telling you. I want to just reinforce how important your participation tonight is going to be. How have you been helping to promote women entrepreneurship? We want to give you a voice. We want to listen to you. So participate in the platform, and we're going to be having your participation online set out. Deborah, welcome. It's now it's with you, please.
Thank you, gracias. Distinguished partners from the International Labor Organization, Women Entrepreneurship Associations, employer organizations, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to open this event promoting women's entrepreneurship development in Latin America. This event could not be timelier, as the world just celebrated Global Entrepreneurship Week and Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Mary Kay Ash, our founder, was an entrepreneur and a visionary. When she created her company in 1963, she did it with a unique commitment to gender equality through an entrepreneurship lens. Today, Mary Kay is proud to operate in more than 30 countries around the world, including Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, Peru, and Uruguay. Inspired by our mission to enrich women's lives, We wanted to bring entrepreneurship to women all over the world, and we brought our vision to the United Nations, and that is how the Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator was born. We call it WIA, and WIA is a multi-partnership of unique magnitude, convening 6 UN agencies, including the ILO and Mary Kay. Together, we are more committed than ever to creating an enabling ecosystem for women entrepreneurs all over the world. Globally, women already comprise 1/3 of all business owners, making critical economic and social contributions. Data shows that women businesses are resilient, innovative, inclusive, and environmentally friendly. In short, they're solutionaries. They enable the global 2030 SDG agenda. With women already comprising 17% of Latin American entrepreneurs, the region is a vibrant example of women's entrepreneurial activity. But that said, in LATAM and everywhere, women entrepreneurs face multiple challenges related to systemic barriers, societal norms, and challenges exacerbated by the pandemic. Women entrepreneurs need systemic change. They need efficient advocacy. That's why at WIA, we made entrepreneurship research and policy a strategic priority. And how do we make advocacy efficient? I see 2 ways. Through powerful evidence-based data. The Women's Entrepreneurship Development Assessments led by ILO take stock of input from women entrepreneurs, ensuring that women's voices are amplified and turned into actionable recommendations for policymakers. WIA supports the game-changing work done by ILO in Brazil and Mexico, and we want to help scale the WEDs all around the world. And second, through partnerships, networks, and multi-stakeholder dialogues. It's only through innovative collaborations and multi-stakeholder dialogues that we can have multiplied impact that we're seeking. Last summer, WIA joined the Generation Equality Action Coalition on Economic Justice and Rights in Paris, and WIA pledged to empower 5 million women entrepreneurs by 2030. Today's event is a perfect example of what we're hoping to achieve, and we look forward to continuing to provide evidence-based data and powerful conversations to further women's advancement and entrepreneurship in Latin America and everywhere around the world. Obrigada y gracias.
Thank you, Deborah Gibbs. Ouvimos a
Thank you very much. Now we will pass over to the representative from the ILO, Mrs. Claudia Corteneges.
And Deborah and Alexander Furlan, very nice to see you. Very nice to see everybody on the screen and connecting with us. First of all, I would really like to thank the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator for this invitation to speak at this webinar and for the incredible work that UN agencies, together with Mary Kay, are doing to unleash the potential of women entrepreneurs around the world. The Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator partnership is built on a common and profound belief in the power of women and in women's entrepreneurship as a means to create employment, to improve economies and well-being, and to achieve greater equality. Estimates show that adequately supporting women entrepreneurs could lead to a $5 trillion boost to the global economy. Women's businesses have proven to be more productive, generating the same value production than men's, with less working power and limited time. And we also know that women tend to hire women, so it kind of has an accumulative result. Partnerships such as the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator are really an incredible lever to magnify efforts and contribute to the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. Not only Sustainable Development Goal 17 on partnerships for the goals, but also the SDG 5 to achieve gender equality and the SDG 8 on decent work and economic growth. So we really think that this accelerator is a unique in its setting and in the collective power that stems from the collaboration between the different UN agencies together with Mary Kay. And I have really two messages. The first one, and Deborah already said it, but we strongly believe in advocating based on facts. We call it evidence-based advocacy. There are so many things that have proven that the effect that it has to work with women entrepreneurs. The ILO has been doing and has been collecting evidence, collecting facts on this for more than 15 years by undertaking national assessments in countries across the world to really understand exactly what is happening for women or what needs to happen to have successful women entrepreneurship developing. My second message is integrated and holistic. One of the very important things that we have learned and that we also always try to apply in the women entrepreneurship development assessments that we undertake is to really take a holistic approach, to take an integrated approach, because it's not only one barrier or one solution that needs to be brought. We need to look at the conditions and the many different aspects and the many different services that women require before they can become successful entrepreneurs. Not only have the assessments shed light on the barriers and the constraints for women entrepreneurs, but really through the assessments, we've also worked on providing very specific, concrete recommendations. And we've really been happy and pleased to see that that in different countries where we have been doing these assessments, we have had quite important successes. For example, in Montenegro, the assessment led to a Women in Business Forum, a parliamentary women and business forum that was established. In El Salvador, in fact, there's really been, after the assessment, there's been a full chapter that has been developed on women's entrepreneurship development. In Tanzania, in Africa, the result has been a public procurement act that was amended to include a 30% quota for women and young entrepreneurs. So what I'm trying to say is that those assessments are not meant to be theoretical works. They are meant to really give the facts and the information that is required to make the right policy decisions. And in many countries, this is working, and we are so pleased to see that. We do believe in an improved gender-sensitive entrepreneurship ecosystem where exactly this whole integrated approach of a variety of services is all being brought together. Among other things, today we will get to hear from countries like Costa Rica, Chile, Uruguay, and Brazil. And we have among our audience representatives from among other countries like Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, where similar processes are underway. We are so proud to be part of this initiative, and I thank you all for being there and for participating.
Thank you. Com a palavra agora, nós vamos ouvir também de forma online.
Now we're going to be listening online an Women Entrepreneur Accelerator. We're going to listen to Mary Guzel. Hi. Any activity that happens in Latin America is very...
Got married in Quito. I gave birth to my first sons there. I began working the first time in my life after university. And and it is there that I decided that for the rest of my life, I will work in development. So personally, it's very close to my heart. So a lot has been said about WEA. I'm the partnerships manager of WEA, and I'm a proud partnership of this great initiative. I don't want to take more of your time because we are already late, but I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to our ILO colleagues in leading this work at the Women Entrepreneurship Assessment, which is a very comprehensive analysis and better understanding, and through research on public-private sector dialogues. Especially, I want to extend my thanks to my dear colleagues, Virginia Losa and Adriana Sierra Leal, and who have led this line of work in Latin America. So without taking much more of your time, and thank you very much for having me here, and I'm looking forward to this launch for the rest of the event.
Thank you so much. Agora, com a palavra, a gente segue.
Now we would like to be presentially listening to Fatec Senai, Miss Lele Bloom. We're going to be listening to her now. Good evening. Hi. I'm very happy. I would like to congratulate everyone who's been part in this event. So in the person of General Duza, for her, in her name, I want to congratulate and all the people who are involved in this event. For us at Senai, it's a big satisfaction to see all this movement that has been generated by the Federation of Industries, and I want to thank Mr. Alexandre Furlan for he's the president of the board of relations of CNI, which is our confederation, National Confederation of Industry, and he's also the president for Latin America for the International Organization of Employers. So, Mr. Alexandre, at this moment for us is always a very unique one. Since 2018, um, you haven't been shy in being a partner and bringing all the partners together, Fatec Senai, everybody involved in order for us to be able to bring this event together today. So we want to thank you very much for this, and also to we would like to thank to ILO. Mr. Fulan, my microphone's not off. Let's please move on. Furlan, are you listening to us? People who are interacting with us, everybody's listening to us. Ms. Lelia Bloom can please wave at us, and you can talk to us through YouTube. So let's move on and try to move on again. So let's get started. Uh, as you didn't listen to most of what I said, I want to thank for the presence of everyone who's here listening to us in this very special moment for our institution, Fatec Senai, and Maraguzzo, our partner, our manager, the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator. I want to congratulate everyone who's involved, all women who are part of this very special moment in our lives. I also want to thank Mr. Alexandre Furlan, who's the president of the Relations Board of CNI President, and also Vice President of Latin America for the International Organization of Employers. He was the one who pushed for this moment to come together as he built partnerships and articulated with ILO in order to allow us to have this project done here in Mato Grosso, our state. Project which started in 2018, where Senai, who's the sponsor of Fatec, Senai is part of in all the states of the country. We have now over 800, 700 facilities which are function. So this unit was picked in order to lead this project and these actions which have the moment before and after. So before ILO and after ILO, the impact is very positive, not only inside our organization, but also the other organizations who are part of this project. I won't be taking too long because I'll be in the round table in a minute. So I want to thank here our team, Senai, the technology college of Senai, all this movement, everybody coming together with other countries and pulling together to organize all of this. So it's a very professional event. So thank you very much to all who are participating in this proposal, who are open to discuss. Not only by chance, this event takes the name "They Women Do Happen," the women who empower their own lives. Thank you very much for being here. Let's reflect together through our abilities and build better spaces. Thank you very much. In order to close this welcome to people, so women who empower their own lives, I want you who are online to tell us on your comments how you've been contributing to improve the women entrepreneurship. So now I would like the president of the Confederation of Work and vice president for Latin America of International Employers Organization, Mr. Alexandre Furlan. We would like to listen to you online now, Mr. Furlan. You have the moment. You're on the stage. Me foi
just for 2 minutes. Há pouco mais de 2 anos e meio, 2000 e
some time ago, like 2.5 years ago, I met through the ILO organization. I got to know the Bernard Ganaf program, and from the first moment when I saw it, I believed it as vice president for Latin America of Organization of International Employers that we should be taking an active part in this program. Now, I would like to to make a little parenthesis. We have the president is a woman for the international organization, so I am the second in power to a woman, and we are very well represented. When we decided to implement the program in Brazil, as Brazil is a very big country, we had a very limited resource, so we started in Mato Grosso state, which is a very thriving state in the country, and I searched the support of Senai, which is the National Service for Industrial Learning. I believe this would be the best partner for this program, and I wasn't wrong. And now, with Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator, we have started a new phase of this program with a sustaining support the women entrepreneurship. I believe this has a big impact on the whole society because it promotes equality in opportunities. So I believe this has already been said that Latin America has a very big percentage of women in business as entrepreneurs, and they're facing obstacles, difficulties to guarantee the success of their companies. So we're here to discuss the challenges and opportunities and support all the ways of entrepreneurship for women. So to do that, we have to act in an adequate way to guarantee a better future for our Latin American nations. So that's why I always gave support to this program, and that's why I'm here to wish success to this seminary and this event. And I want to thank the participation all of you who come from all Latin American countries and have a contribution. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Furlan, for his contribution. He gave welcome to this wonderful event, and to make this even better, we have a gift, a very big gift, which is Cesi Mato Grosso Orchestra playing. Let's listen to the orchestra now, and this is our gift for the night. Perfection. I told you it would be a great gift. Paulinho in the bass, and Sydney at the guitar, and Paulina at the vocals. So this is only one contribution of Cesi Orchestra. So this is an empowerment for the women. And before I call you to the round table, I would like you in YouTube, in our platform, to be participating. We would like to know how you've been helping your action to entrepreneurship and about the women who are entrepreneurs. So the first roundtable of the night is going to be about actions to develop entrepreneurship in Latin America, business people. So I have the satisfaction of calling for the first roundtable the president of Women Association, the economy and businesses, the vice president of UCCA of Costa Rica, Miss Maritza Hernandez, an online manner, be welcome. And I'm also honored to call the coordinator for projections of social studies for the Pontificio University, Catholic University in Chile, in behalf of Chile Commerce Chamber, Miss Consuelo Ribas. We would like to make you welcome to the event, and I'm also honored to call the first roundtable of the night, the president of Women Entrepreneurs in Uruguay, and also member of the Chamber of Commerce and Services of Uruguay, Miss Anabela Aldaz. She's also with us. Good evening, welcome. And last but not least, I'm honored to call in a presential way to be part of the first roundtable, General Director for Fatec Senai, the regional sector, Ms. Lilia Bloom. Everyone, please welcome to it and make yourselves comfortable. I am sorry, I skipped a very important person, the one responsible for being the master in this roundtable, the ILO from Miss Serra, Adriana Serra. Welcome, Adriana. Miss Sierra Leal, thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Costa Rica y Uruguay.
I am a technician for development in entrepreneurship. I've been involved with Genebra sector in ILO for a while. We've been giving support to companies. We know that this is a very resilient area. We know that women have the same initiative and some difficulty to start their business just as much as men, and the same have been having a few opportunities. We know that in the past 2 years it's been very hard for everyone, especially for women who have left the labor work for lack of opportunities, and many times they have closed their own businesses. We know that this is a general problem, and at country level, it's kind of difficult to understand the kind of difficulty that women entrepreneurs have been facing. We would have to have more data about their characteristics and what kind of difficulties around them, that the ones that they're facing, and how their companies work and what kind of obstacles they're facing. Their lack of opportunities And also, we would like to know how they're making themselves heard. There's also support, lack of support in financial aspects, and how this affects women entrepreneurs, and how the public policies for development work, and how we can understand and to what point these women have been represented. And we have to understand that to know how this impacts in women's ability to start their own businesses. And this is important for the public sector to understand and to have policies. And that's why nowadays I am at ILO promoting the policies. And we have this methodology of assessment, which has the objective of gathering the data. And I also would like to invite you to be part of this in order to give support to the women who are entrepreneurs. In order to be part and to be ready to promote. And Marisa Portis from Costa Rica, who's a lawyer, and she's been a worker, and she was the president. Nowadays, she represents some private chambers. She's the first woman who has taken a presidency. She's in charge of coordinating other chamber associations, the economy and companies chamber. We also have others, Consuelo Rivas, who's a psychologist. She's responsible for public policies and works at the University of Chile. She's responsible for social policies, and in Chile she gave support to research and projects in Chile University. Nowadays she's in charge of research projects for public sector as much as pregnancy. And also from Uruguay, Anabel Aldaz. She's a lawyer with experience in environmental law, and she's been part in many different processes of acquisition and transformations of the major industries in the country. Nowadays, she is a regulatory director. And also Lélia Brum from Brazil, who's a director, regional director of Fatec Senai. And now I would like to have Hernandez talking about her story. Maritza, please. Thank you very much. It's a good afternoon from Costa Rica. It's a reason of happiness to be sharing with you. We have a presentation that I'll be showing you quickly. Environmental themes in Costa Rica, in other areas, and themes about women is a connected theme which we created for that reason, a commission to take care of women's interests. And we have this agenda, and I would like to thank ILO for the support given to women, especially the support from women in Europe. And we would like to get started. We got started in our first steps in collecting the data because we needed that data in order to convince people about it. There's been a problem in the presentation. She's starting again. Now it's easier to see. Are you able now to see the presentation? This is the corporation I was talking about. We have two very important jobs to do in two different forms. What was all this about? This collection of information first, methodology. We assessed what was most important for people. This methodology is a methodology which has been approved by ILO, which allowed us to have 6 different steps to advance in the theme of development in women as entrepreneurs. First, we analyze the secondary source. Then we have an interview. We interviewed women who didn't have jobs. Then we had entrepreneurs who had companies, and then also rural area women, and then collected many different data. I would like to comment that it's important to mention, in reality, it's a country which has different themes in development. The level of development, for example, in education, 170 women to each 100 men graduated in universities. They have their economical participation. They have no relation. Every 10 people in college, we will have about 9 who leave college with a higher level of education, and they're able to get their goals. In terms of responsibility, we found alarming data in terms of segregation, which was 76% of women who participate in economical activities. They prefer to work in places in place of dedicating exclusively to family activities. They are underpaid, and there is unemployment and the pandemic. And with the pandemic, women sector had a decrease. We also have some data about women, which shows 65% of companies with tables which have been mainly male focused. This is a very shy but important information. We thought we were good, but we end up realizing that Costa Rica, when compared to other Latin American countries in the world, so our belief, the belief that this is a belief we can only face with data. The only way we can add to the private sector as well as the public sector agenda. So we can say that this was a very discouraging finding that we had. 47% of the level of management, in average management, and 57 in higher levels of management to executives in company policies and also public policies in order to I won't be repeating over saying that women are important, that women are losing participation in the market. And here we have the presence of the directive management to the problems. No area of business shows us the presence of women in management positions, and then the importance in part and to face the obstacles. So we know the stereotypes in countries, and this is true for our country as well. What calls our attention is that the second place we have no idea why women are not in leadership positions. We have no idea exactly what and why we are assessing, and that's what brought us to go deeper into investigating. In summary, Costa Rica doesn't have a high level of participation in higher jobs, in higher positions for women, and majority of women working are also working in informal positions. And one of the aspects of informality is that there's no demand in terms of time, no demands in structure. Women have been taking on not only the responsibility of their households, but Costa Rica has a growing population, and all over Latin America, family is a very important theme. And this is one of the reasons why that women aren't getting to these higher job positions, because women also value the taking care of the family very much. And we've been working to create more abilities for the women so that punctually they can change and we can lower this load for women so that men also understand that they can also take on some of the load of watching over the family, taking care of the family, and generate a positive environment and not an overload for the women, and the result is very important. After the study that was done, that I just said before, is specifically scientific, now we have the profiles of the companies that were mentioned by Mariana. We have to assess where these women are being placed and what kind of companies we have. The countries are very much alike, but we have our own characteristics, and we have to know these traits in order to for us all who are going to be generating these actions in truth can have a support to make those changes. We have data of the study and the profiles where our women are being placed and the characteristics of such companies. In this slide I can show you that those conditions, the accesses to financial services, which are very sensitive to gender, but during the pandemic, that was very obvious that credit was not accessible for women, and women in majority, the entrepreneurs, the small business owners, they had no means, no way to have access to credit. So we've been working to put those obstacles down. So representations of entrepreneurs and business women, we've been participating politically. Costa Rica has the duty to be able to participate, not only to have women in direction jobs, in higher position jobs, but also through chambers of all levels of work, all activities. We've been conducting activities in order to reach so that others can politically worry and effectively worry and to give access of services and to which are sensitive to the gender and technology for the market. That's very important. That is a way we fall in love with the research and what action is it that we have to implement after this study. So we managed to come up with this, the best way to for women to be involved with management, how in financial areas, human aspects, in order to get a more flexible um, system for the women. And these conditions, in each one of them, actions were set and ways of measuring them, and they are updated. And this work reinforces, and we can see that during the pandemic, everything changed. We reviewed each and every one of them. All of those actions have a problematization along with them. And bottom line, finally, the time is pretty short, so all of the work that has been done, UCAEP has a women way of viewing things and education way, but had no vision of woman. Now we have the UCAEB logotype with a woman vision, and in this vision, we have an electro picture to identify and to be measuring constantly as a projection, as a guideline. And this shows us and allows us to have a guideline on the north. And finally, I want to express that we do not have to walk backwards on the other way around. These very short meetings, they are important. We should have more of these meetings so that we can bring all the problems together. Every country has their own traits. We have problems though that are very similar. We have to resume process of conversation with labor unions and other sectors to talk about the problems that women are facing. So we need a better American continent, and we need a better country. We need a better world. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Marisa, for the opportunity.
So I'd now like to invite everybody for questions and answers. With the support of women business people, as a result of this data, I would like to present the context in Chile. Women are mostly working in micro enterprises, that's around 50% of the total, where formality is more prevalent in women, and in sectors specifically between 2015 and 2020. However, we must take into consideration that the diversification of enterprises and women leaderships in dynamic enterprises is according to opportunities. In Chile, the women have the opportunity to take the opportunities and to be enterprising in networks. And I'd like to share with you that in the last 20 years, specifically since 2010, we have a number of different public and private institutions helping enterprises with a number of programs to that included women's networks, and it's very important to remember that it's necessary to have a business ecosystem because we currently have a low participation in these levels, and we carried out a study where 14% of the women receive some kind of funding, and 26% of these are trained. So within this context, it shows that in Chile there are some gaps in terms of gender difference, in terms of business owners. And so the profile of where the people and the women specifically can get access and with this situation, we have to ask ourselves, what are the conditions in Chile to encourage women's participation in entrepreneurship? And in a project that we had starting in 2019, there were 3 stages. There was a ecosystem diagnosis. We set out the profile and the barriers for women to prevent women from enterprising, and also we had an overall evaluation of the 6 main conditions. So based on this, this allowed us to apply the techniques of the ILO to deal with each points, which included the judicial marks, their participation in policies, and the results. And we found that there were 6 main conditions according to the levels of progress that were set out by the ILO. We have an overall scenario in Chile which shows that there is some participation which has shown there are a number of challenges, and I won't go into details here. I will just mention a few that could be important for this project. It's important to understand that in Chile, on a scale from 0 to 5, for each one of these conditions, for example, and we found that there was an aspect in the judicial assessment which was creating barriers for the women, and there were a number of legal gaps in the ability, in terms of their legal ability to enterprise, in terms of the laws for the companies. So there were some aspects which in Chile specifically um, create some difficulties. So now it's very important to take into consideration the regulatory marks, which are the main difficulties that the women face. Many of the women have to deal with many types of laws that promote these bureaucracies and a lot of delays and a lot of technical language, which makes it difficult, and it doesn't allow the women to get closer to achieving the full participation in this project. So I wanted also to comment on the leadership in politics and together with entrepreneurship. And in reality, the results showed that in Chile there are some public institutions that have been making efforts to promote a number of programs and policies to encourage women's entrepreneurship. However, there's no specific agenda to take this forward with laws and programs, and we need greater articulation. There is a lack of a coordinated national policy with common objectives that would allow us to achieve our objectives. But these results, in fact, show that this is something which is not happening in practice. We need a national policy which allows us to have better coordination and which puts some order in these initiatives and that regulates them. And the last condition that I wanted to present is the access to financial services to take into account the genders, and there are some public and private programs for women, specifically they deal with the starting companies in their initial stages. We have a number of programs that require certain initiatives that help the business to develop more positively, and to establish the companies and help them to grow. And there are inclusive programs for women which where the women can participate and moving on to the second point here, both in the private and public institutions, but unfortunately one of the greatest losses is that the programs that are offered to men and women and the providers of these services are normally focused on the gaps that are there for women to be entrepreneurs in these programs. For example, there is a lack of investments, the role of taking care and the time required. These are examples of the gaps that exist to help women be entrepreneurs. And as a consequence of this, Chile, the women in Chile don't feel this call to participate. They don't know that these programs exist, as I mentioned. And as I mentioned before, a large percentage of women, or rather only 26% of the women are actually well trained for this. So finally, the last condition that I would like to present is one of the most challenging points in Chile, is the access to financial service related to gender differences. And here we can see that it is one of the points that's its weakest. And in Chile, there is no evidence that the financial services are making efforts to incorporate the women into their services, with except for some particular services and some programs which in fact have a low capital availability, and they increase the time required, and the financial services have had very low participation levels by women. Only 14% of the women are managing to get financing, and this is something very concerning. And it's one of the main difficulties is in fact this difficulty to access finance. On the other hand, and it's also important to mention that the financial services have a limited coverage. They are services which are being developed in the center of Santiago, in the metropolitan region of Chile, and there's a very limited coverage in other regions of the country. So this really is related to the lack of measuring the impact that this is having on entrepreneurship development. So, summing up, I want to leave 3 ideas here for you. In Chile, there are a number of different initiatives for private companies for women, although the barriers that are there for women lead to the consequence that women have a very low participation in these programs, and there remains a large number of gender gaps. There is a focus on diversifying the types of support that for the companies that have women, and very often these are not moving forwards. And when these gender gaps are transversal to the size and the type of business, it's necessary to follow up on all of these stages. And finally, the most important thing is the need to have a coordinated national policy which allows articulation and direction of the efforts that have been held and made. And to finalize and conclude here, I would like to leave the following idea for you. Here we have developed an action plan to improve things, and it's important to improve this proposal about the strategies to break down this vicious cycle of the gender gaps. We need initiatives that are these lines of action and production from the gender perspective. An example of this, to get a greater idea of gender, is to accelerate the diversity of services to benefit a number of different areas, and to strengthen the women's networks and strengthen the initiatives and get them to participate more in associations, and to have greater incentives and formalization in support initiatives to maintain the growth and development. Thank you very much. Thank you, Consuelo. It was very nice to see Chile's initiative based on this diagnosis. I believe these are all very important points, and these are often services that come as a result of implementation of policies on genders and initiatives related to genders. But when we talk to women enterprises, we get different stories. We know that women entrepreneurs will feel very happy that this initiative in Chile exists. I want to remind the participants that on the platform you can get access to the studies from Uruguay and from Chile, and these are available to share. And now, online, I present here Anna Bailey, who will tell us her experiences. I'd like to thank all of the organization and all the people involved in this, and it's great to have this opportunity to share the results with you. As you mentioned, these data are available, and feel free to make any comments. From these results, what we've seen, which is very important, is to be here with you today, and I'm here with the president of the organization and as a member of this service in Uruguay, um, who works for the ILO. And since 2008, we have been implementing the first diagnosis of the factors that are focused on developing women's entrepreneurship and gender equality. And there are a number of Uruguayan companies which have been working on women's empowerment. And we, in 2020, we use the same methodology, which I have already mentioned, and it's a methodology which is more robust. And we were thinking about the size of Uruguay. There are more than 200 business people, which is a very high number for our relative population. And there are a number of things which are very similar to what the colleagues have mentioned previously. And there are some points which I think serve as focal points for alerts. In Uruguay, the studies were very clear, and they showed that there is the legal system that promotes the gender system of the ILO and the UN and others. This promotes a view of gender and equality, which has included the economic empowerment of women, as well as prioritizing the public purchases and services by companies that are led by women, and together prioritizing these long traditions that we've had in the Institute of Women and the Ministry of Development. But even so, the reality is that the entrepreneurship of men is much greater than that of women. The men are more entrepreneurs than women in high management roles, and director positions are mainly occupied by men. The women occupy just 35% of management level positions, and access by women is just restricted to smaller companies. The companies that are led by women, 90% of them are just micro businesses. Very few are in the industrial areas or technological areas. So we can see from the diagnosis that there are lots of similar issues here. And it's important to mention once again that, as was mentioned by Costa Rica and in Chile, we can signal here the difficulties that women have to go out to work due to having children, because when they go to work, they feel some guilt,
that equilibrium that women have, the balance that they have to find between work and family. In this manner, this theme is related to the work, and also some reflection was made on the pandemic results, and there was some effect on top of this results, and this is a constant barrier that women have to face towards having financial support, credit. For women, there's very little support, and we can see there's a bigger participation of women in taking high risk, but they do not have access to formal credit. Usually, they take a higher risk by getting loans from family, from friends. Another obstacles that are not necessarily connected, but are more linked to other matters in terms of security of women. Usually women, they are working in nets. They go on mouth to mouth advertising. These are some of the obstacles that women face in these circumstances. Another theme that comes up again and again, which is related to motherhood. Women usually will embrace maternity, and usually, especially in our country, in Uruguay, mothers, not that they want, but it's actually imposed on them. They must be mothers while young, and that's that's why we say that this is a little penalizing aspect, because they have to have their kids. They have to bear kids in their young age. So we have to deal with this aspect with a lot of care. So pandemic has affected everyone, but especially women, especially those who had their businesses. Over 21 companies were affected by the pandemic. This crisis, this COVID-19 crisis, has actually had a big impact, and it's going to be persisting. It persists up until now, and it has an impact on the companies, especially the main ones that have shown they have to find a way of transforming their their jobs, their companies, how to find change in order to become more digitalized, more online work. And many times what we see is that resources, included those of technology, they came to help in educating kids too. And that's some time that women had to spend with their kids at home. So many times all of these aspects of information that we are sharing here in this meeting, this information that's being shared, women with this resilience and capacity to share, we trust, we believe women are gonna be sharing, the women who make the economy move. No doubt that they have this opportunity of growth. There's a big space for women to work. We are here represented and working. We are having this diagnosis of what's going on. What we do not measure, we do not follow. We are offering tools that can improve the work, and also to set up a plan, an action plan to work. As much as the Commerce Chamber, as much as our organization, we have developed this program called, which has been strengthening women in leadership positions who aspire and wish to lead. This program, it has a diversity of themes and really has been a great success. It has made a difference and made big changes, and many negotiations were made in order to reach this management aspect. Before this program, what we're aiming to do and this gap, somehow companies have some difficulty in offering credit for this obstacle. And another aspect, there are many women with ability, but they have no means to invest, and there's a lack of capital. Only 7% of these women have shown ability to come up with a profitable capital. This is a result of this program that aims at preparing women for these investments, investing in their own ventures in order to facilitate their development and to be ahead in their company. And also, as a whole final result, this initiative can take women to a better future. And we end here. We are very grateful. Thank you very much. It's important to know that our countries, we have action plans in different aspects, but at the same time, we've been working in very similar themes as much as civil work and public sector. Everyone has accepted their share of the work. And when we think about development, on the other hand, it's a very important factor, and we have to keep this encouragement for women to keep investing. And thank you for being in this mission of recuperation. And now I would like to invite our last speaker, who is in Brazil, in Senai.
Good evening to all the participants here. And so And thank you to all the participants from Costa Rica, from Uruguay, and from Chile. It's a great honor to be here, present here, talking to you as the regional director of Senai Mato Grosso and also of the Senai University in Mato Grosso. And this is work that we've been doing in partnership with the ILO. For me, it's a great satisfaction to, as a woman leader and a mother, and a wife, to see that this issue is becoming more and more visible and more relevant, and because it is to do with all of us and also to do with our society, because we live in a country with a stigma of inequality, whether it's within the area of race, culture, economics, and also gender. Brazil is the seventh country with women entrepreneurs in the world. And around 30 million women are leading their businesses, and they represent almost 50% of the total number of entrepreneurs. It's a very impressive number, but when we look at this in detail, we can see that more than 90% are micro businesses, and most of these are in the segment of services and commerce. Of the 30 million entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, only 8% are in fact in the industrial sector and almost 1% in the agribusiness sector, which are the largest economic sectors of our country. Another piece of information which is very important, which we want to bring forwards here, and which perhaps is less surprising, is that 45% of the women entrepreneurs are heads of family. That means that they are responsible for the main and sometimes only income in their homes. In comparison to the men entrepreneurs, the level of education is 16% higher, but even so, their businesses have 20% less revenue. 34% of the active companies have a participation of women, in most cases, 90%, and these are the micro businesses. Wage differences, cases of harassment, insecurity, machismo, and triple shifts are real obstacles of the day-to-day lives for women in the work market of Brazil. But what can we do to combat these inequalities as an institution? In 2018, we started a partnership with the Win-Win Partnership together with the ILO. It's called the UN Women, and we're very proud to have this partnership here in Brazil, and specifically in our state. And based on the 6 pillars of the women's entrepreneurship, we work towards identifying the challenges, the improvements and opportunities, and setting out all of our actions in according to the aims and objectives, which represent firstly the identification of the obstacles for women that prevent women from becoming entrepreneurs and to become more representative in the industrial sector of Mato Grosso. Then we aim to identify the promotion of alternatives to empowering women business people in our state, and also to create opportunities for growth of entrepreneurship and to establish greater socio-economic justice for women. In the beginning of the project, since the beginning of the project up until now, together with our partners, we have promoted actions to raise awareness and to raise the levels of sensitivity and have discussions about this topic of women's entrepreneurship to enable the presentation of proposals to change the current scenario. With this proposal, we have developed each stage of this, for each one of these ideas that we have experienced together with women, to see how they deal with the diverse problems that they face. And since the first meetings that we held in 2018 until now, they have participated in actions of awareness raising and promotion this topic involving a number of different types of women's sectors, all aimed at participating in awareness raising activities and to enable proposals to be made and to improve the generation of policies to empower women entrepreneurs. With these proposals, we have seen that, and we have developed a number of different actions. You can see that we have pictures of meetings where we have more than 700 women participating in the launch of the project called Women Running the Businesses. We've done this on a regional level, and women from a number of different areas to deal with topics such as gender, diversity, the business empowerment of women. And at this moment, we can see the needs that women have the requirements they have to put forward their situations. And since we were lacking in his ability to talk about this and talk about the possibilities that the generation of good business holds. In 2019 and to the beginning of 2020, we had held 31 interviews with business women and leaders who have contributed to the identification of the barriers. And these were meetings with young women and experienced women who work as entrepreneurs in our state. They have allowed us to identify differences between levels of education, abilities, technological abilities, and has helped us to see more clearly the barriers and their causes. And this has reinforced the value of support networks among women. In 2020, in this project of women direct running business, there was a course in Brazil which held a survey involving 13 municipalities in our state. Our state has 148 municipalities, but we got results from just 13, with a focus on the women entrepreneurs. The survey was led by our university, the Senai Technology University, and contributed to the development of policies and actions to move forwards on items and the objectives of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, from this, we analyzed the secondary data. We made reports about key informers. We had focus groups to validate the questions, and you can obtain all of this information on our website, where all the data is available. And within this context, we have highlighted the data that were observed in relation to the difficulties identified by the women entrepreneurs who participated in this survey. And almost 14% of those interviewed had difficulties to find clients and to get access to finance. And here we point out that the women surveyed, 39 pointed out this difficulty to find clients. 36% mentioned that they had a difficulty in accessing finance. And 17% of those in the survey said they did find it difficult to get family support. And 10% mentioned the location where to actually sell their products. So this was very eye-opening for us. And what 95% of the women interviewed made, which led them to start their businesses with their own resources, only 10% of these actually received finance. So we can safely say that 94% of the women started with their own resources, and 17% with the support of families and friends, and only 10% with bank financing. This information was something that was really relevant and important to us. And the difficulty in loans, 70% mentioned that the interest rates that they are faced with are very high. It's a very considerable number because they didn't have their enterprises taken seriously by the banks. And they had difficulties, and in some cases it became impossible to move forward with their enterprises. So we can say that 70% received high levels of interest on the loans, and 60% were asked to provide guarantees and collateral, and 48% were given a very short loan period. And so a lot of the women, therefore, were not taken seriously. As well as these data, we also found that there were public policy measures that impact directly on the women in their ability to set up their companies. Above all, the heads of families. And this affected their ability to uh, deal with these problems. We heard that you need a whole street to raise a kid. You need safety, nurseries, and integrated schools and incentive programs. You need a whole ecosystem which favors women to help them to be entrepreneurs and to help them to participate in courses to help women. There was recently a release of the first incubator of technology in food processes. This was aimed at autonomous women and micro business people in the area of food. These were followed up for 6 months and were given all the support required for free. This was a very important action to continue the success of the project. And finally, in 2021, with a more stable scenario in terms of the sanitary conditions, they were then able to fulfill what they wanted. They obtained their mentorship on the legal aspects, financial services to get access to support services for their businesses. They participated in workshops about public and private policies. There were round tables about leadership and coordination of public policies. This was a very rich moment, and we highlight here that the program of Women Making Clothes, which provided qualification courses in entrepreneurships, management, and credit training. There were mentorships and workshops. This action were very welcome and very well seen. Courses, mentorships, and workshops contributed to the offering of spaces for discovering and discussing among women who were feeling isolated in their daily battles. They managed to get experience of other alternatives and solutions so that they did not give up. These were very rich experiences with women being emotional because they realized that they were not alone. They were women that allowed themselves to learn new things and to learn about their own businesses. This was something that was necessary for them at that time. Women that needed help to help with communication projects in their companies, financial control, management, and there are a number of diverse stages, and there were a support network was set up for solidarity among women to share their good practices, to make each woman stronger and more confident in their decision to be entrepreneurs. This principle of solidarity flowed at that moment. We also set up and developed within the university a web platform which is an application that facilitates information, and this was an initiative by our students in the university of the technology course. It was carried out by young women thinking about other women, and when it met the demand that was found in a number of steps of this project and during the survey itself. This application facilitates information and reinforces partnerships between women because they can exchange information and get support. So what were the results achieved throughout this whole process? Firstly, we can focus and mention the proximity that women achieved in their dialogues about public policy with the Minister of the Ministry of Women and Human Rights, with certain representatives of the Parliament in Brasilia, also local representatives here in Cuiabá, and raising awareness of the topics for society. The leaders presented a lot of information and they reinforced that it's very difficult to balance the work of women in politics. And the spaces where the decisions are taken are predominantly masculine, run by men. And so there was a call to empower women more and to get more training and to leave a legacy whereby they can believe in this force and this union of their purposes. They presented priorities associated to social struggles and to have a greater debate by local agencies and regional agencies to raise awareness and to move to change this reality. We know that the partner institutions, whether they are financial or political, all of these began to look towards this in a different way and to start analyzing internally their institutions to see what was their positioning and how they could contribute. The second was to enable discussions and to present proposals for actions to cause change, together with institutions, including the Mato Grosso Institute for Farming Economy, IMEA, the Brazilian Association of Business Mentors, and the Superintendency of the Club of Shop Owners in Mato Grosso, and the Secretary of Economic Development of the state of Mato Grosso, which we called SEDEC. The result of this is that we now know better what kind of profile for women who want to be entrepreneurs, and undoubtedly this has helped us to direct actions in a concrete and effective way. The opportunity to call and work with partnerships and establish networks has helped a lot to integrate the efforts and to reach a variety of different sectors of women. So we have tried to bring new items to the agenda for public and private discussion and policies related to the context in Mato Grosso. We have finalized some ideas, key ideas, and we focused on how the system has changed its view and moved forward the institutionalization of this topic from the internal point of view, as well as from including women in technology within the Fatec University, and offering scholarships. We are working in support groups for women, and these scholarships were specifically for technology courses where there is an awareness raising for all women to get to start doing courses at certain times where they were directed towards specific courses, normally for men, to ensure the opportunities to be able to study and overcome difficulties. We also had a diversity policy approved in our institution, and this policy was socialized with all of the workers and within our institution, and it's available with the collaboration of finance agents. There are lines of credit specifically for women's entrepreneurship, and the financial institutions here in Mato Grosso set up a line of credit specifically for women, as the Desenvolve MIT project does. And this has encouraged the discussion of the women's entrepreneurship within the Secretariat of Economic Development in our state. So these women's networks are active, and they are showing that it's really worthwhile to offer spaces for meetings which enable interaction and the promotion of good practices, because this is what allows the awareness and raises hope And so I would now conclude here with a phrase that was written by a woman who participated in our program. Actions give us a range of how to be autonomous and have control and have opportunities so that more and more women can take these opportunities and have the opportunities to be their own bosses. We have the opportunity to learn, and we learned that we have a lot to do and that there's a lot of information to be in, to require data to facilitate the new actions by other women, and we can help to unite efforts and forces and to open more spaces for women to talk and open doors for people to listen and to identify the challenges and raise awareness for better public decisions. And together with this, women together, just only working together, can we gain this strength and this force. Our institution and our university, together with the ILO, state clearly our commitments to contribute towards achieving our mission of offering education that enable the women's empowerment, to strengthen institutions, to open greater access. And this is why we're going to continue training, offering services and innovations so that more and more women feel that they are strengthened and can occupy the spaces which we have always said we've always said that women should be where they always are meant to be. Thank you very much. And with this women's empowerment, it fills my heart and to see all of this work that we've managed to achieve such great evolution over these last 3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leila, and to everyone. And those who have questions, please, you can leave those questions in the chat. In the regionals, we're gonna be answering them. Now we're gonna be closing the meeting. All the people who participated in the panel, we're very grateful. People from Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Uruguay, we're very grateful for all of your participation, for sharing your experiences, and also for the use of the methodology that gave us the opportunity to assess the work that has been done. So thank you very much to all of you. And to move on with our event, before we call the next roundtable, we want to have your participation. We want to know how you help support and empower women in entrepreneurship. It's not only just to vote for our quiz. We want you to be sharing, leaving your message in this very special event of empowerment and entrepreneurship for women. You heard so many women who inspire other women and successful. And in sequence, we can do a lot more if we are all coming together. Remember to vote and participate. There's a box of questions. And there's this assignment. I have some commitment here, some phrases that can help you commit to helping, supporting women in their endeavors. Women do happen. And to be moving on, we would like to call our second round table for the night in a national perspective, promoting entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship in the country. I'm honored to call the Director for Innovation for the Confederation of Innovation Industry, Diana Sagazio. I also have the honor She's in online, so let me wish you good evening. Good evening, Gianna. I'm also honored to introduce the manager for human development in Mato Grosso, Sebrae Mato Grosso, Miss Suleima Metelo Coelho. So welcome to. Good evening to you, and also professor teacher Rosa Neide, who is a federal congresswoman. Each um, of our guests has about 10 minutes to speak, so please make yourself comfortable and start. So, can I be the first? Can I call Gianna first to be the first to speak? So, Gianna, you are our first speaker. So, this is our second round table, please. Good evening. Thank you very much for the invitation. I I am happy to be here. Congratulations for this initiative, for this very important event, and this is such an important step for development of our country and the region. I would like to start by saying if Brazil had a face, oh for sure, it would be a black woman face. This brings us a very big challenge for development because every policy of development we make, it should also be addressing the not only the gender but also race. I also want to point out as a director of innovation, innovation has to have diversity. The more diversity you have, the more it's going to be easy to innovate. We have many studies that point to this direction that organizations that are able to be very diverse, in fact, they turn out to be institutions that are more innovative. So I'm going to be addressing this perspective in terms of national ranging and women entrepreneurship in the country. I'm going to try to bring this discussion to innovation, as I understand that this is a big vector to understanding entrepreneurship itself and development, and also that it can help overcome the obstacles that do exist. So here is a little bit about the characteristics of Brazilian population. As I said, if Brazil had a face, it probably would be a black woman's face. So here you can see the majority of the population of the country is women. You can go to the next slide, please. Here you see the participation in workforce. You can see that you see here we have some of the data in terms of educational preparation of women. We have an average of 8 years of study when against 7.6 of men. 73.5% of women um, they been to high school when they were supposed to be there in their Italian moment, and while men are 63.2%. Almost 20% of the population who are 25 or older uh, who have a higher education level complete, an undergraduate course complete. But when you talk about men, it's a lot less. And one fourth of the undergraduates in engineering in 2017 are women, and 50% of masters and doctor degree, we can see there are women. We have women in a very solid preparation level of education. Another data that shows that the preparation of women is good is this one. Well, about the work market, the job market itself.
there's not these numbers, they don't reflect on the job market. 44% of all workers in Brazil is women. So you see that there's a lower insertion of women in the job market. And out of these people who are working, only 37.4% of the women are in management jobs. And some of the data, for example, we have here 14.8 in the as Congress women. We also have a big deficit in terms of women. Women are working 3 hours more than men do, and they receive 77.7% of what a man makes. 77.7 of the income of men. So here it shows there's a gap and women are left behind. The conclusion is women study a lot harder, work harder, and make less. Let's move ahead. Which is the scenario for the startups that are managed by women. In fact, they receive less funding, but they generate a lot more income per dollar invested. So here we have the data to show that 350 startups that were followed up along 5 years in USA, and the profit of 0.78 on each dollar, while startups managed by men had a much lower with a profit of 0.31 cents on a dollar. Data from the global report of gender global report. We have the 10 countries that have the best positioning in this report, and Brazil is in the 67th position. There was a losing position from 2006 to 2021. Nowadays, we are in the 93 position among 144 countries. This calls my attention because if you consider the global gender report of Brazil, we will see that we were the 57th in term and 132. We lost 10 positions in the past 10 years here in our country. So when you analyze different methodologies and different reports around the world, Brazil's been losing positions in terms of women, and these dimensions, they have a relation. I'm sure we would have a better, if we had a better positioning toward gender equality, we would have a contribution to a more innovative country. I would say that these factors, these aspects, they are systemic and they have to be addressed in order to improve. We have to address all of them in a systemic way, all the factors that are contributing for Brazil to improve its position in this global gender gap report. As this report, there's another one in innovation and competitiveness and productivity. In summarizing, I believe this is what would make us a developed country. So the gender equality, when we consider the majority of the population of the country, I repeat, is women. So it's necessary that the public policies and corporation policies, they reflect this matter of gender. Let's move ahead. Well, here you can also see the performance of Brazil in gender equality. We see that Brazil is losing positions in the past 9 years. We also see there's a big gap in terms of pay by gender in Brazil. Women making substantial less difference when compared to men. More women working, and women are in jobs that are low income, and while men have jobs in higher income. The data that is very interesting here and shows that if we work to reduce these disparities and these inequalities, how long will it take for us to reach these equality? We can compare to East Europe, took 52.1 years, 61 years for North America, Latin America and Caribbean, almost 69 years. This is a very long time, and we have to step on the gas in the process so we can have women inserted and to get an increase in development in our country. Also, due to COVID-19, we could observe there were gaps during the pandemic. 5% of all women employed lost their jobs when compared to men, which was only 3.9%. And LinkedIn data show there was a decline in terms of hiring women for management positions. And in fact, this generates a step back of 1 or 2 years in terms of progress in many different sectors that had already occurred. So we have to recover this wasted time. Here I highlight some of the initiatives like empowering women in Brazil in 2021, the partnership with Equality Futures and Innovating Women program, and also the law Maria da Penha, which is a domestic violence law in 2006. My presentation is going to be available for you. You're going to be able to scrutinize and check and see the resources where this comes from. We had presentation addressing the principles of innovation in terms of the gender, and She Innovates, which is a world program. I'm going to speed up a bit because of time. I would say uh, the objectives, the sustainable objectives, development objectives, is very important to consider gender. I would also say that it's transversal in other objectives in terms of gender. The discrimination against all women, the elimination of all ways of violence, and ending mutilation of genitals in women, forced weddings, forced marriage, promote lessening of home responsibilities, participation in leadership, and also in making decisions, and giving universal access to sexual health and reproductive systems. We have to point that out. In terms of um, achievements in gender equality, legal reformation, um, women in rural areas, technology, surviving domestic violence, and other violence in general, women that are having access to legal support. I am aware that we have to speed this up and we have to do a lot more. So this research, this information we have about women entrepreneurship in 49 countries, Brazil is in the 7th position. Why I said that, we have the 7th biggest proportion of women among the initial entrepreneurs. Women tend to be younger than men when doing that, and the business women, they usually pay higher for their credit, 3.5% higher when they own their own small businesses. The rate of um, deficit in payment for women is 3.7, while men is 4.2 in failing payments, and almost half of the small businesses in country is are led by women. 48% of those. They stand out in beauty care, fashion, and feeding. We also have to insert women in more actives, not only fashion, beauty, and food. We have to get women motivated to go into tech area, innovation area, more women in engineering, for instance, to remove the obstacles, especially the cultural ones that do exist, so that women can take part and help reduce this gap, which is fundamental for us to promote development in our country. Also, how to promote these women entrepreneurship, it's important to find a balance between private life and professional life, dividing responsibility among women and men. This requires a power of negotiation so that really women can find this balance and support businesses that have women behind it, those we are in contact with, by buying or suggesting people to negotiate with them among our circles of friendship, and to improve access to credit and financing, which is important so that they can really start their businesses. Investments in four different main areas, according to OCDE, would be to assure that women have financial resources and keep young women in schools. I would say that it's important to keep always studying. It's important that women keep on doing that and participating more and more and being more prepared. It's important to improve reproductive health, and especially in Brazil, this has been always an index that demands harder work on top of it, and to support leadership when it's from women. I would say that just to close my presentation, I tried to show uh, a portrait of Brazil in terms of inequality in gender. I believe that it is important to improve corporative policies as well as public ones. Those are the ones that can really promote a better inclusion of women in the job market, women in power positions, in places where decisions are made, be it in companies, in politics, in lawmaking, in the Congress. It's important women try and take those jobs. Each moment when we have women trying to get inserted in these aspects of different dimensions of life, we are contributing that there's a reduction in this gender inequality. And I keep encouraging women who are leaders. We have many here who were part in this event, but also those who are watching us and men who are watching us as well. It's very important that we have this women coaching, women who are around us, who work in our teams, the ones we get along with in everyday life. It's very important to promote and encourage and allow space for these people, these women, to take these positions with their abilities. We are not here proposing that we give positions to people who are unprepared, but what we are proposing is to remove the obstacle, the cultural barriers, and try to promote insertion of women in these spaces, because this is what contributes very powerfully for us to have a better developed country. There's no way to promote development in Brazil without facing this challenge, and in fact a better life quality for our population. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gianna, for your participation. Our next speaker is the manager of human resources of Sebrae Mato Grosso, Sulema Metelo Coelho. She is online with us here. Over to you. Can you hear me? Sulema, can you hear me? Okay, now you can hear. So we now have Sulema. It's over to you whenever you're ready. Good evening to everybody. And on behalf of Sebrae, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. And I'd like to greet these two incredible women who are on this roundtable discussion with me. It's a pleasure, and I'm very happy to be here with you to talk about this very important topic. Just a second, please. So I'll be talking about the survey we've had here. There may be some points that are being repeated here. Just having a couple of issues here. Just a second, please. Okay, so can you see the slides? Great. So, talking about women's entrepreneurship in Brazil, Sebrae carried out a survey in the first half of last year, and what we looked at was we had a number of data from different institutions, but there were 25.6 business owners, 17 million are men, 8.6 million are women. So there's a difference there of 66% who are men and 24% are women. And here we have some of the things that have been mentioned by a number of you. When we think about business owners compared to men in Brazil, the women have a higher level of education. When we compare this to higher education, women have 29% of higher education compared to 80% of men. They are younger. 53% of the women are under 44 years of age. They earn less, as has been mentioned already. 61% earn just up to one minimum salary. They are usually, most of them are in their first activity as business owners. They work more alone. Only 13% are actually employers, but they do employ more women. They work less than 40 hours a week, and this explains the data below, which is 49% are heads of families. So women, as well as being entrepreneurs, they have to dedicate time to their business and to their homes. They contribute to the pension system when they're at current activities. They have a more simple business structure. This is due to the fact that most of them are in service sectors. This was from last year, and 50% are involved in accommodation and food, hospitality and food services, in small hotels and services related to food and meals. So why did Sebrae want to invest in a project just for women? Because Sebrae wants to invest in everybody, but we know that for women it's much more difficult for mainly cultural reasons, as well as because, as has already been mentioned, Brazil is the seventh top country that most women entrepreneurs. And because there's a lack of jobs, they don't have other options, so they start to be entrepreneurs. This is why we have a much larger portion of women entrepreneurs, because it's a necessity. They also want to. They also need to divide up their time between their business and their family. So they are therefore more innovative. This is another survey which identified 71% use social networks to sell their products and services against 63% of men. And 11% of the women entrepreneurs innovated during the crisis, compared with 7% of men. So women were more agile in adapting to the pandemic. And also it reinforces that women are more entrepreneurial because of the need rather than the opportunity. Women employ more women. And if a woman business owner contributes so much to the economy, then Sebrae has the power to transform and reality and to help develop these communities. This is why we have the Sebrae Delas project, which is to support business practices and public policies to value competencies, to value behaviors, and the abilities of women entrepreneurs. It's divided into 3 pillars. So the program is aimed at micro and small businesses and women entrepreneurs. There are 3 pillars. First, it will work on the I, the myself. This means because women need to develop their life, their career, their family, their health, and other personal aspects. And this has much to do with helping the future women entrepreneur to look at inwards. When we say that it's a cultural problem, and I didn't know this, and I just researched this, that until 1966 there was a law which prohibited women to work outside of the home. So it's not that long ago. So we can see that because of this, we know that there are cultural aspects in related, because since they were young, women are taught that this is not for women, that this is not a girl's toy. So we grow up in a society which is has this cultural issue where women can do one thing but not another thing. And so women grow up as adults with these biases in their subconscious. So with this pillar, we try to help the woman entrepreneur to look inwards, look at herself, because it's possible to change this. The next pillar is mine. So this is what is in terms of related to the business itself, the idea, the project. And this is where the entrepreneur can look at the business, talk about growth and how Sebrae will support them, to look at their business, to identify the entrepreneurial characteristics. And the last pillar is us. And here we talk about the importance of a network. The Sebrae's job here is to connect a number of different women entrepreneurs to build up this network of women entrepreneurs where one strengthens the other. We talk a lot about solidarity, and we have to help other women, and this is why we focus on this in this pillar, where one can help the other, and this way the network strengthens the connections and helps others. So what does the program offer? It offers qualification. We're talking about courses, talks, workshops, working on technical abilities as well as soft skills and social skills. We also have a number of events and networking events where we can exchange information. There's a lot of content available. We have a number of articles and series that are available on the website, which is www.sebrae.com.br/delas. This is available to everybody. So before I finish here, we have a 5-minute video. We'll talk about the summarizing the program, and then I'll have a brief conclusion to my talk. And there was a phrase that I heard, which I read, where on a course where I was in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, which said that women are the base of sustainability for the planet. So we remember this. It's a statement which we have to read to ourselves every day. So I will now put on the video. Can you see the video? When women makes mistake, there is a larger consequence. She has to prove that she is capable, and it is in fact much more difficult. You have to show your capabilities 5 times more. You have to be 5 times more persistent. You have to gain the confidence and trust of the clients and professionals. The first obstacle that I found was getting lines of credit. When I started working, I was fired because I didn't accept harassment in a number of different situations, whether it was in doing calculations. I was told that women can't do that kind of calculation. It was, let's give it to a man who knows how to do this properly. You are not capable of setting up a structure, of driving a truck. You're not capable of carrying a load. Women are seen as the weak sex in society. So we, women, are attributed with a number of functions. Because of a social function, it's more difficult for a black woman to be an entrepreneur, because most women start to be entrepreneurs through necessity. If we look at the social pyramid, women is at the base of the pyramid and black women are below that. Most of these companies led by, in terms of small factories, small businesses started in backyards, or even larger companies that are led by women, these are companies that present very important results, both financially, both in terms of the quality of life of the workers. There is a tendency that women will be will create a lighter environment, and it's more diverse, and there are greater possibilities for organizations. I saw that being a woman, people didn't believe in my dream, because in the area of food, a lot of companies are dominated by men. But I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I believed. I created a multi-level marketing company. In one of the meetings, they asked me why. What's your reason for this? And why would you wake up every morning? Because I wanted to work. I wanted to achieve my own things. And I started to understand that I was much happier when I was there helping my cousin to deal with a client, or a friend who called me to do some kind of a different hairstyle. What I've done is to create engagement with other women who could help me to realize my dreams. So the cooks, the assistants, and the nutritionists, they were all added to our company, and they were very motivated by this dream to make it grow and to make it work. So everybody was working towards the same objective. So when you start a business, it's very difficult. You won't have a salary, so you don't have a payday. You have to build up this financially, and you have doubts about whether it will work or not, and you don't sleep well. There's a lot of things, and you're getting some bags under your eyes, and you get gray hair. So it's very challenging to migrate as from a worker to a business owner. The fears are very real. But I got help from Sebrae. The Sebrae Delos program is very surprising, very impressive. It brings us planning, methodology, and this helps us to start seeing the potential. Each woman can see that the other woman is stronger, and so we help each other and we become stronger together. When we're talking about women entrepreneurs and talking about resources, the surveys show that investors talk in a different way to women and men. They ask different questions. The amount of women that comes onto the table is different. I managed to forget my own space. I have a number of workers, and we gave this feminine touch to agribusiness, and we are a reference now. I believe much more in a plural women's entrepreneurship, which is more diverse, which is well structured, it's scalable, and it has a greater representativity for women in the world. Historically, we have the social marks that society has imposed on us, where the freedom was dependent on men. So this is a challenge. But we have the power to do whatever we want. And I think I'm fantastic. So that's it for my talk. Thank you, Sulema, very much for your participation. Now we will move on to our next guest, over to the Federal Deputy, Professor Rosa Neji. And she is with us online. And do we have her connected? And so here she is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can listen. Good evening. I'm grateful for the invitation. Congratulations for the event. I think it is a very, very special moment to be discussing women, entrepreneurship, and the position of women in businesses in Latin America. I'd like to congratulate everyone who spoke before from Chile, Costa Rica, Uruguay, Lelia from Mato Grosso, Miss Diana, Sulema. The contributions that were very relevant for us to think better the role of women and to encourage entrepreneurship of women in Brazil. I would like to be speaking a little bit how the House of Representatives here in Brasilia is and my role here. And I want to show some data, but not completely. But I've been at this moment I am at work. It's called the House of Congressmen. We're trying to fight to change the name of this legislature house, so because it's a men's way of addressing it. We are 77 women nowadays as congresswomen, and we know that we are being made invisible, and our role is relegated historically to a second position. Nowadays, I am the second coordination for the Secretariat of Women, and I've been working pretty hard so we can have incentives for women. I myself, every time I have the opportunity to pass a bill, I try to get resources for women's projects in rural areas as much as in cities. I've been promoting a lot of discussions in women as entrepreneurship, and also in jobs. The System S, which is the Federation, Senai, Sebrae, we have had projects so that we can give spaces for women that have been victimized in their homes for domestic violence so that they can have channels of communicating and have a partnership with the S system in the country. In November 19th, there was a solemn meeting for women entrepreneurship, and it was aggregated to the official calendar of 21 days for activism against violence towards women. Brazil is one of the countries in the first positions in terms of domestic violence and aggression towards women. Mato Grosso, my origin state, many of my companions here who came from Mato Grosso, it's a very conservative state towards women, and there's a lot of data about violence against women. The gender inequality that's been approached in this meeting, especially the data that women study much more and work a lot harder in terms of payment, they are so behind. And Brazil, in the 521 years of history, has always been denying the role of women. Only 1934 women were allowed to vote. So being here in the Congress House and having this position, this role, is a very important role because a lot of fights were made. Because men, they deal with politics as politics were made only for men. But we know that being in the lawmaking house is a big fight. There's a lot of the issues that are very common for women, not only for us Brazilians, but all over Latin America and the world. We have role, which is very important. We have a common theme. We have to fight for the political rights. It's a common issue that we have to fight, and to fight against violence towards women is also a common issue for all over the world. And we have to get men as our partners. So this fight, we have this mixed um, citizenship front that we can put women in the position that women demand and need and deserve. And women deserve to be wherever they want in science and business, education, in any area of work. Women have qualities and traits to be in. And we have a differential, which is the female eye we have for the issues. And we have to have integrated visions between men and women. Women have to be headway. Social institutions such as family are protected, children are protected, but in terms of women, Brazil has to advance. We have a lot of prejudice in our country. Brazil has been denying the spaces for women, but lately, women with a lot of fight, they went to college. Black women have taken their positions. They became protagonists. Brazil is a black country, but it's denying its condition, denies the presence of women when we have 52% of the population female population, and you have only 15% in the Congress. It's different from Chile that has a much better constitution. We have a lot to be done in our country. We have a lot of projects that are ongoing. I'm happy to see that one of my bills was approved. We're just waiting the president's signature, which is for the means of communication when they're having any advertising, that they advert people about the equality between men and women in the Constitution. Ads such as washing machines, soap, they should bring men doing those chores as well. And to show in Congress that women are part of in the municipalities, that we can call more women to work in those positions, and that women come to believe in women, that women do not despise other women who are in positions. Sometimes we have women who deny these positions to other women. I want to congratulate the National Services of Learning, where women have space and they're receiving education. Brazil has advanced a lot in terms of education by giving women this protection to increase the leadership positions for women, not only for politics, but also in executive cases and other spaces, that any place women have their spots respected. Diana showed data, and they show exactly that she studied a lot harder, she works harder, but she makes less. Brazil is a country where women They have twice or three times more work than men, and as much as in other countries. There are some countries that have overcome that, but we have to encourage women to participate harder and more. Women are after their rights and they're taking those positions. And here in the Congress, we have a reduced number of women. But we are happy to see that women are here and they're active and determined and they're organized. They're talking about the National Confederation of Industry. They are opening channels of communication so that women can take their positions and their space. I want to remind everyone, Simone Beauvoir said that all oppression brings a state of war when we do not represent the presence of women in society, when women's rights are not guaranteed. Is as if we were in a society that does not see that their young ones are having a projection to guarantee the space for the working women. It's to guarantee a more fraternal society. Congratulations to all the ones who spoke before me. Congratulations for each one that has been doing in order to guarantee the space of women. I like to thank men as well, because there are men that hand in hand with us, they keep going, pressing forward, that women and men are equal in legal aspects. And this is only going to be possible when all the legislation is being followed and respected in our country. When women and men are side by side building a better society. So thank you very much to the community. And I put all the people who work with me and the secretariat in the Congress, the everyone here in the Federal Congress House at your disposal. So thank you very much. Thank you, Rosa Neide, our Congresswoman. With her participation, we close the second round table, and we would like to remind that there have been so many inspiring stories here, which only highlight the importance of such event where we encourage the women entrepreneurship. This empower us a lot more. I would like to invite you all to choose the themes in the rooms that are available. I'll tell you each of the themes of each room. Room 1 is Afro Coach Entrepreneurship. The number 2 is Agribusiness and Entrepreneurship. And 3, Social Entrepreneurship. And this we're going to have Brazilian Sign Language Interpretation. And 4 is Corporative Entrepreneurship. And the number 5 is Transnational Entrepreneurship. In reminding that in this room, it's going to be done in Spanish. If you're interested in more than one room, it's not a problem. You choose one that you're interested in, and then later on, all the meetings are recorded, so you're going to have access to each and all of them. You can check them in YouTube later in the Fatec channel. So make yourselves comfortable, pick the ones you want to exchange your experiences, so have a good time, and I'll see you later. Thank you.